Hello Mouses! Today I'm taking a break from the series on applying the law to Batman because, to be honest with you, I'm in the middle of revising for an exam that's coming up on Thursday. I need all of the time to prepare for that, so I haven't really been able to give it the amount of research that it requires. But hopefully that'll all change. Well, in fact I know it'll all change because after Thursday I've got all the time in the world. But I'm hoping that I'll get some time over the weekend to finish off the research so we can do the last few episodes next week. Instead, I'd like to talk to you about how we change as people as we grow up. It's an idea that's been around in my head for a long time, long as I can remember really, on whether the person I am now is the same as the person I was before. And I was surprised when I read Schultz's Ladder by Greg Egan that that's a topic that comes up there. The story has people in it that live for effectively as long as they want because they've managed to create a way of renewing bodies or being digitally scanned and manifested into a digital realm where you don't die. So you can last for a long time, and that does cause a lot of changes with people. So are you really, when you're 1,000 years old, the same person as you were when you were 10? And that's one of the things that comes up in the story. And I was quite intrigued about the way that the book explained how to make sure that you are still the same person. It's a very interesting concept, so I thought I'd talk to you about my interpretation of that now. For those of you who haven't read the book, the idea of a Schultz's Ladder comes from the mathematical concept by a guy called Schild, where instead of working out the progress of a vector along a curve, then you can decide from, instead of looking at the function and using mathematical calculations that are rather complex, you can build a kind of ladder of points underneath the curve and thereby calculating an easier set of steps, or ladder, a way to track the progress. So that's quite interesting, and it's a similar idea that comes together in working out whether you are the same person as you were. Instead of looking at point A, which is like you when you were 10, and point B, which is you when you're 50, and deciding that, whoa, we're very, very different people, you could take little slots of time in between. So let's say you had yourself when you were 10, and you compared yourself as 10 to yourself at 15, or yourself at 12 even, to do a smaller amount. Are you a similar person? Yes. Then you move on. So 12 to 15, are you a similar person? Yes. And go on and go on and go on like that. You check all of the little points in between on the curve of your life to see whether you're always a similar person to what you were before. And if all of them come out as, yeah, I'm basically the same, or I'm similar enough to be the same, then you are the same person because all the similarities are there. You've changed because you've developed, but you're the same person. So that's quite an interesting idea for me. But I was also thinking of it from the term of, well, let's look at it from the point of view of a tree. A tree doesn't start off as this huge thing. It starts off as a sapling. And it's quite a weedy thing. It's not going to stand up to a storm or anything like that. But over time, it grows up and it gets thicker and puts on more and more and more layers of bark which help it to develop and protect itself, and then more layers underneath. If you come back over several years, it develops and grows and becomes bigger and more tree-like. And then after 100 years or 200 years or whatever, it's a massive structure. It's this huge tree. But it's the same tree as it was when you planted. It's just bigger. And here's the thing, if you cut down the tree, and I'm not suggesting that you go out and do this to check, but if you cut down the tree, you'll see all of these little rings inside. And all those rings is those steps that you did on your life. Then the sapling's there, and then the next step is a little bit bigger, and then the next step is a little bit bigger, and it goes on and on. Same tree, it's basically the same, each step, and then all of them together turn into the curve of your life. And that's basically all I was thinking of. So the tree analogy I think is better than the Schultz's Ladder curve for the point of what I'm talking about, because the tree is not the same as the sapling in terms of look, but it is the same in terms of it's the same thing. So you can look different then to now. You could have wildly different experiences between then and now, and people might say you're not the same person that we used to know because you've developed and changed so much, but you are the same. And just as an example of how people change quite radically sometimes, have a look at this clip of a film I was in 2002.
Your Majesty, these rogues were found poaching in your wood. My men tracked them for a mile and pounced when they killed one of your rabbits.
Don't listen to him! It was us who tracked him down, sleeping by a stream. We could have caught 20 rabbits if we wanted to, they wouldn't even have noticed.
Nonsense.
Silence!
Your Highness, These papers could mean anything. Should we really believe the word of these types? Peasants, rogues, bandits?
General, we all have our allotment in life.
It's a bit different, isn't it? But people do change. People develop. If you look at the old saying that men tend to have, I look in the mirror and I'm shaving my father, because when you were a baby you didn't need to shave. You as a kid you didn't, and you probably looked a bit different. You probably looked a little bit like your dad, and then all of a sudden you grow up and wow, you're the spitting image. These things happen. But you're not your dad, you're you. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to stop while I'm behind and just say, regardless of what happens in life, you are still the same person. You might change on the outside, your personality is going to be pretty much the same all the way through. It's just your experiences that model you. But at your core, you're still the same person, and everything that you do now, you had a potential for then. So you've always got that regardless of what you do. And on that note, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching the video, and I'll see you on Monday.
Let's go!